All right, coach.
Um, I'll ask the fighter, I said, you were an amateur
Yes,
and
sir.
you're getting ready to go pro.
Yeah,
You are getting trained by your amateur coach.
gotcha.
What is the difference between your training regiment as an amateur and as a pro? And they will say,
He got hurt. He got hurt, and he went down. Yeah, what's going on, coach?
hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. It's been a
Good.
while, man.
Yeah, it's
You
been a
know,
while, man. It's been a while. But we're here now, so I want to see what you got for me.
yeah, I just want to come, because I started, getting into boxing, and I'm loving it. I was like, hey, let me come chop it up with you today, boxing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, sir. Good, sir.
Let's start this way, man. Are you happy with the state of the condition that Oklahoma boxing is right now? Like, what's your thought on that?
Well, I look at the sport. It's growing. It's getting better. But I do still see some things that are not where I think they should be. In particular, the professional realm.
Okay.
When I look at the amateurs, the ones that are turning pro,
Yeah.
they still train as amateurs.
I'm sure.
And I will,
Okay.
I will ask them, I said, what is the difference in your training?
Yes, sir.
And they will say, basically they're doing the same thing. Well, I will talk to them and I would say, well, what is the difference between I'll ask the fighter, I said, you were an amateur
Yes, sir.
and you're getting ready to go pro.
Yeah.
You are getting trained by your amateur coach.
Gotcha.
What is the difference between your training regiment as an amateur and as a pro? And they will say, well, we're doing the same thing. He's training me the same way.
Same way.
And that does not make sense to me. I feel like there should be some type of elevation in the training. The training should be more intense. It should be more informational.
And to time.
Just a stronger sense,
Urgency.
more critical
Okay.
in what they're doing. It should be explained a little bit more. It should be more in depth to what they're doing. But basically, they said they're doing the same thing
Same
as they
thing.
were doing as an amateur.
Amateur.
And I said, well, how can you elevate if you're doing the same thing that you were doing as an amateur? You're gonna fight as an amateur
Amateur.
because he's teaching you amateur protocol.
Yes, sir.
And so I've witnessed it and I've seen it happen a lot. And so I see that as a flaw, that the coaches are not stepping up the game. And so we're losing in a lot of areas because the fighters are not progressing the way they should because of the mentality of the coaches.
Coaches.
Yeah.
They pro, but they still
Yeah.
fighting like an amateur.
Like an amateur. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I make sure that when they come to me, that they see a big difference. I spend a lot of time documenting what they do. One of the biggest thing that I guess amateur versus a pro is you need to visually see your progress. If you visually see your progress by documentation,
Yeah.
it gives you that sense of accomplishment.
Right.
It makes you feel more secure in your development. And when you get that security in that development, it makes you a little bit more,
Want to do it more?
well, it makes you more confident.
Confident.
When a fighter is confident, that's a big
Yeah.
part of a fighter winning, is being confident that he can win
Right.
or lose. You know, if I can lose, if I feel like I'm gonna lose, I'm not as confident in myself, and I won't try as hard, or I'll be second guess my abilities, and that's not what you want from them. You want them to be reassured and make them to grow inside of the ring. I want to feel secure in what you're capable abilities of doing, and show that. That's what you're trying to show to the world, you know. But if you second guess it, and a lot of times if I can document how fast you run, how fast you've gotten since you started till the day of the fight, you've gained 30 seconds, you gained a minute, you gained 2 minutes, whatever it is, that gives you the ability to say, you know what, from the day that I started training to the day that my fight, I've gained 2 minutes in my run time.
Yeah.
I've gotten faster, I've gotten stronger, I've gotten tougher. And so those things give you the confidence that you need to say, I can do this, I can win. Because I've seen the maturity, I've seen the progression of what I've done. And now I know, I don't think, I know that I'm a better person than I was when I started. Once that happens, the confidence is the beginning. Now they're more assured, so they'll be a lot more relaxed in the ring, and they'll execute the things you ask because they feel that they'll work. If they second guess it and they don't feel like it'll work,
Yeah.
they won't do it. They won't. If you've been teaching them a certain move, if they're not really sure if it'll work, they won't do it because they're too scared. They might get hit, they might get caught, or it won't work, or whatever. But when you give them the reassurance that it will work, and there's so many different ways of giving them the reassurance that they need through the training, and that's what a coach's job is to do, is to show them that what he does and what he's teaching, it works. You can't just show them something and expect them to do it. You have to have a way of showing them that, hey, let's do this, and it will work. And so you have to have a system set in place to show and prove that it will work. And once they know that it will work, they will have no problem with utilizing it and doing it.
Wow.
And that's where we got to. That's where we got to get. But when you having them in an amateur position, and there's no elevation in the training, how do you make them feel confident that they've grown, or are they still the same?
Same.
And that's where I feel like we're lacking here
Lacking?
in Oklahoma boxing. There's not very many pros
Coaches?
in Oklahoma. There's a lot of amateurs, but there's not a whole lot of pros.
Do you
and
know-
if we do have some pros, they really don't progress to the point where they get to an upper crust level that they need to be. You know, they might be a local fighter and they'll stay local, and they'll be a local champion, but they never get to that state or world or class elevation where they really want to be, where everybody's trying to get. They won't get there.
So you mentioned something that really kind of like, struck my attention. You mentioned confidence, right? So how much of a confidence can a fighter has? Because it's very important. But, sometimes when you have too much confidence, it can make you think like, okay, you're the champ, or you could beat anybody. So how can you manage not to be able to make that confidence to be your problem when you get in the ring? To the point like, okay, okay, you fighting someone. It's not just. So how can can a fighter manage his confidence to get
Well,
him a victory?
confidence is something that you do. I guess you could say you do have to manage it. Don't be overconfident,
Yeah,
but don't be underconfident.
underconfidence. So how do you stay in between, coach?
So
Don't be
the
over, don't be
thing
under.
is to realize that no matter how good you are, there are some fighters that are.
They're better than you.
I won't say that they're better, but they have the abilities that maybe you don't have. Some may be faster than you. You may be strong, but they may be faster. They may be more technically sound. You may be quicker, you may be faster, but they may. So there's always so many different areas that a fighter can progress in that nobody's perfect. You're always gonna lack in some area compared to another fighter.
Right.
It's very seldom that you control all aspects of fighting. A guy may have more experience.
Yeah.
He might be faster. He might be more mentally sound. He might have more self-control.
Okay.
It's so many different areas, and you put all these different elements together. That's what makes the total fighter. But everyone lacks in some area, and that's why styles, that's why fights are so competitive, because okay, he may quicker, he may be stronger, but he has better timing. He is in better condition.
Yeah.
And so it turns out to be a really good fight because he's quicker and he's stronger, but he's in better condition and has more experience. He's been boxing longer. This only been boxing for 3 years. He's been boxing for 10 years. So it's so many different elements that can make a fight turn out different. And so when you put all these elements together, it's really hard to judge, say who's better than who. So even though you have that information, whether it's speed or whether it's power or whatever, you have that knowledge. How do you execute it in the fight?
Right. Okay.
Because you can have power and you can have speed, but you can be reckless when you're throwing it. So it's so many different elements.
It remind me of something that all these football analysts always say about players. They always say, oh, he's a good player, but he doesn't know how to play under the light.
Right.
Does the light affect that boxer too? Like too many people watching?
Of course. The lights are basically we'll say it's the crowd.
The crowd, okay.
The lights are like the crowd. The crowd can be very influential. It can change your thought process. I've seen little kids, they be very shy. But then when they get around certain people or they do certain things, their personality comes out. Or they want to have fun. Or if they're doing something really well and you approve of it, they tend to want to show you more. and then they get to the point where they're showing out. They're doing
Too much?
too much.
Like, no.
Man, they're doing too much. And sometimes you'll find a fighter that gets really comfortable and they get up under the lights. They do
Freeze
too
up.
much. Or they freeze up. So it does play a role
Is it something?
in how you balance it out.
Is it something coaches can teach? Like,
Well, you can speak on it, and so I guess it's an element of teaching, but the experience is always the best
Yeah.
teacher. It's always the experiencing things, getting in there, because even though you tell them something, if the crowd urges you on, a lot of times it'll turn into another monster.
Yeah.
The crowd is pumping you up, and you'll go ahead and do something that you normally wouldn't do because the crowd is urging you on, or the crowd is turning you off or booing you. And I've seen some people low rate their ability because the crowd is not
and your support?
them.
Yeah.
That's not supporting them or behind them. And so they'll kind of shy away or back down from what their capability is with it. So the crowd can make a big difference in what you do. That's why some fighters like to fight in their hometown because the crowd pumps them up.
But that's a lot of pressure too, though.
It's pressure. It's on both sides.
Both.
It's on both sides.
You don't want to lose in front of them.
Yeah. But then when you go, I went to with fighters. We walked out. When we were walking out, they were booing us. They were throwing stuff
with
at
Elijah?
us. No, it was
okay.
another fighter of mine. His name was McDonald. And when we went out in Vegas, they were booing us. They were cussing at us. They was calling us trash and blah, blah, blah. And it was to the point I had to tell my fighters, man, hey, man, come on, hurry up. Because they start throwing stuff at us. It was bad, So
how do you feel?
That that was really, really such a negative response.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would y'all do us? Y'all don't even know who
Trying to
we
mess
are.
with the
But they were
you
messing
and
with
your-
the cycle.
Yeah, psyche.
Their psyche. And so, but we had to overcome it. And we had to, be strong enough to overlook it and do what we came to do.
Did he win?
No, he didn't win. He fought really well.
Very well.
It was a good fight, but he wasn't slated to win when we took the fight. But we were gonna go against the grain and try to win or whatever. But the guy was really, really good, and we took a fight that we really weren't. The guy was really good. He was really good.
Wow.
So and that's the game sometimes, They already know when you take the fight, it's a long shot that you will probably win. But you go ahead and you test yourself to see where your abilities are. And sometimes you may pull it off, Because a lot of times they won't slot you to take that fight unless they're sure that you're gonna lose, because their process is to build that fighter up, not you, and you are the stepping stone. And sometimes as coaches, hey, we're gonna go against the grain, even though we know that they say that he's a better fighter, and they're very good at predicting who's a better fighter and who's not. They watch videos and they say, okay, we think you can beat this guy, so we'll call this guy up and see if he'll accept the fight. And so that happens a lot. And so now as I've learned that, I'm more careful about who I put my fighters against, because my goal is to make them be elevated, not to elevate somebody else, but for them to be elevated.
Yeah.
So that was some things I had to learn and overcome. Because, you know, a coach, when he trains a fighter, he think his fighter could beat everybody. It's the best, you know. and you ain't scared of nobody, and the fighter ain't scared of nobody. But sometimes the reality is they
you gotta respect the other fighter too.
They are better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but of course you don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
And you'll do everything that you can to deny it, even if it's the truth.
Yeah.
And you put your fighter in a bad position. So now I'm a lot smarter. I've been doing this over 20-something years, and I've gained a lot of knowledge. And I'm a realist now. I'm realistic in what I see and what I don't see.
How do you update yourself with the current thing that is going on in boxing? You say, okay,
well,
you got a new style now?
Boxing is always evolving.
Yeah.
It's always evolving. And so, just like a fighter, he goes to the gym every day and he trains and he learns new techniques. He learns new ways. He conditions himself, his mind, his thoughts, or whatever. Me as a coach, I have to do the same thing. My son Elijah, I started him when he was 6 years old, and as he got better, I had to get better because I had to stay relevant. Because if I didn't, he would eventually outgrow me.
Yeah.
He was like, well, Dad, you know, you've been an amateur coach and you've been teaching amateurs. Now I've gotten so good, I'm turning pro. And you still teach amateur stuff. So as he got better, I had to keep looking, researching information so that I can get better, so I can stay where he's at. So I had to grow as he was growing. So as he grows and develops as a boxer, I had to go and develop as a coach. And that's what I had to do. So I had to do my homework. I had to practice like he practiced. I had to train.
You work out too?
Like he trained. Yeah, so, but I had to train more mentally.
Okay.
And I had to understand things that I didn't understand before. So I'm constantly gathering information and knowledge so I can give it to him, you know, to keep being critical to his success. You know. Or like I said, he would outgrow me and then I couldn't benefit him in any kind of way. So far I've been able to constantly benefit him because I'm continuing to grow. I'm continuing to search for more information to keep giving him and keep adapting and adjusting to certain things and realizing, you know, knowledge is a bottomless pit. That's something that everybody needs to know. You can never stop learning.